Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland joins me now. Senator, it's good to see you. I want to start out by playing a little bit of an interview your colleague, Senator Cantwell, did with Chuck Todd over the weekend about just how important this vote's going to be for Democrats. Take a look, then we'll talk about it.
I think that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle know that this vote could be one of the key votes of their entire career. And they know that no matter what spin comes out of the White House, if they vote for somebody who's going to change precedent, it could be a career-ending move.
Senator Cardin, do you agree with that assessment? If you're a Democrat and you vote no on whoever this pick is, do you risk ending your career in the Democratic Party?
I think Senator Cantwell is absolutely right as to the consequences of this nomination. The president's looking at a list prepared by outside groups with the intention of changing the precedent of the court, particularly as it relates to women's right and the right of choice, Roe v. Wade. So I think this is an extremely important vote for each United States senator. We need to understand that we're talking about changing the direction of the Supreme Court for the next generation. So, yes, I am concerned that the list the president's working on has been prepared by an outside group with an intended result.
Senator, can you take us behind the scenes of the Democratic policy lunches? This has clearly been a difficult issue to grapple with, how to fight this nomination. You run the gamut from liberals like Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, many people who a lot of us assume are going to run for president in 2020, to Joe Manchin, Heidi Heitkamp, Joe Donnelly, all people who are at risk and up for re-election coming up in November that have a very different set of a very different focus. How much anger do you think would be directed at your red state colleagues were they to vote yes to confirm this nominee?
Well, first, let me point out that let's see who the president nominates. But if he follows the path that looks like he is going, it's a predetermined course here. And I would think that all senators would be concerned about having someone appointed to the Supreme Court that basically has already made up his or her mind to reverse the precedent of the Supreme Court, particularly as it relates to Roe v. Wade and women's right of choice. But in many other issues, we're concerned about it. We have the protection under the Affordable Care Act on pre-existing conditions. We're very concerned that this nominee may be selected with the intent of reversing the Affordable Care Act protections. So it looks like the president is trying to appoint someone with an agenda on the court. And I would hope that all my senators, all my colleagues would be very concerned about that course, not just the senators who come from so-called red states, but I would hope that all senators be concerned about this.
Senator Dick Durbin, the Democratic #2 in the Senate, he acknowledged really that Democrats are powerless in the Senate to stop this from going forward because you simply don't have the votes. There are some in the liberal base who reacted very angrily to that, essentially saying that that was throwing in the towel. How far should Democrats go to fight this?
I expect that we'll use every tool at our disposal to first be able to highlight what the nominee stands for, use our opportunities to interview, use our opportunities to make sure that the American people understand what this nominee is all about. We'll do that. There's things that we can do, but clearly the 51 votes is going to be the key number on the confirmation of this nominee. Yes, Senator McConnell is hypocritical. He said, of course, under President Obama, that 11 months was not long enough before an election to take up a nominee. Now the Republicans are going to do this in just a few months. That's wrong. It's hypocritical. But we need to use every opportunity we can so the Americans know what's at stake. And what's at stake are their constitutional rights, the protection against the abuses of power by the president, by Congress, by corporate America, and reversing the longstanding precedents of the Supreme Court.
To that point about the delay, one of your colleagues, Senator Cory Booker, has argued that part of the reason why this should be delayed is because of Robert Mueller's ongoing investigation. Do you think that that's an argument Democrats should be making loudly as this process unfolds?
I think our first point is going to be the consequences of this nominee for your rights. To me, that's the most important thing is the rights that are going to be jeopardized by appointing a person who has an agenda to reverse the precedents of the court. But there's clearly an issue here of Senator McConnell being very hypocritical in the manner which he is proceeding when he denied President Obama his selection on the Supreme Court. I think Senator Booker's points about all the other issues are certainly points that need to be considered.
Senator, I mean, I take your point on Mitch McConnell, but Democrats were the ones who started chipping away at the process that used to require 60 votes for circuit court judges and for Supreme Court nominees. Do you regret what Democrats did under Harry Reid when they removed that circuit court filibuster threshold?
It was part of a process by Senator McConnell to deny President Obama the opportunity for his judges to be voted on fairly before the United States Senate. The Republicans were holding up any nomination to the circuit court for the district. That was wrong. They were abusing their power. We got to get back to comedy in this country. We need to appoint judges who will follow the law, that will be mainstream judges. That's what we need to have, not just on the Supreme Court, but on our Court of Appeals and on our district court. And clearly, President Trump is moving us away from that. So we've got to use every opportunity we can to make the American people understand this is about their rights. This is about a president trying to get a court that will just ratify everything that he does, whether it's immigration policies, health care policies, or jeopardizing consumer rights, jeopardizing labor rights. He wants a court that will just rubber stamp his agenda. That's not what the courts are about. It's an independent branch of government that follows the precedent of previous decisions and builds on the constitutional rights of the American citizens. President Trump's trying to reverse that, and that's why this particular nominee to the Supreme Court is so critically important.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.